As a teacher, she'd always been active in the Illinois Education Association, but it was in retirement that Carol Schneider discovered the NEA National Leadership Summit. She volunteered in 2018, took the self-assessment, and honed her skills using the leadership competency domains as guides. Empowered and inspired, Carol ran for her local school board and won. She also became the president of the Rock River Valley IEA Retired. Carol is proof that this process works no matter where you are in your career or journey. Her advice? If you love children, you need to have the association beside you every day. To gain a better insight into yourself, know your strong points and areas you need to strengthen. Take the leadership self-assessments. If you do not have your association standing with you, you are in a boat by yourself, sailing down the sea. Welcome to the 2022 NEA National Leadership Summit. Please take your seats. We're about to begin. Introducing Summit Design Team member and NEA retired President Sarah Borgman and Design Team member and aspiring educator Hannah St. Clair.
Hello, members of the National Education Association. My name is Hannah St. Clair, and I am an aspiring educator from Oregon. I am also one of the aspiring educators serving on the NEA Board of Directors alongside Yessi Kano and Dylan Toth. And I'm also one of about 40,000 aspiring educators in our union who is energized to transform public education alongside you all.
Thank you, Hannah. My name is Sarah Borgman. I'm a retired teacher from Indiana, and I'm currently serving as the president of NEA Retired. I bring you greetings on behalf of 10% of NEA's 3 million members. We are NEA Retired, and our commitment continues. We know we're needed now more than ever. And in just a few minutes, I'm going to share with you how and why we are part of NEA's commitment to see that every student receives a great public education. Hannah.
Thank you, Sarah. As an aspiring educator, I can attest for myself and the other leaders I've met around the country. We are innovative and dedicated workers. We are coming into our classes and our places of work with new ideas to create a just education system. It takes connections to create change, and we are building community across our college campuses and across the country. We cannot wait to connect with more NEA members from all membership categories to bring to life a socially and racially just and equitable system this weekend and beyond. Whether an aspiring educator has just finished their first semester of classes or they're in their last semester of student teaching, we know why we are involved in this work. The students. When people ask me what level of kids I want to spend my time with, I always say the younger ones. Give me elementary. And I often hear back, I could never work with kids that young. And I'll be honest, I think the same sentiment about my friends who want to teach in secondary. But when we get to talking about it, we always realize one thing. We are going back to teach at the age when we needed a mentor most. Students all across the education system, from pre-K to higher ed, need educators who care for them as individuals, who care for a just future, and who fight for one. From our newest aspiring educators to our retired members, we are all here for one reason: to create change and a better world alongside our students.
Retired. Any grammarian will tell you that the prefix "re" means again, so I guess we're just tired again. But please know that we have not given in, and we've not given up. We're going to give it all we've got for as long as we can, because we are still committed. We are still committed to help unite for a better future for our students, for our educators, and for our communities. Then again, you know, we're sometimes like the written in haste messages I've received with just a little tiny spelling error where letters have been switched about. Then we're known as retried. Well, you know, just like you, we do feel the attacks on our profession, on our students, on our society, and on our democracy. We too are tried, we're battered and bruised, but we are still devoted and committed NEA members who are looking to see how we can unify for a better future. We have tomorrow in our laps, literally, because we have children and great-grandchildren, and you know what? We only want the best for them too. We love them, and we're going to care for them. Please remember that we retired members are still educators, all of us, higher ed, ESP, classroom teachers, and someday aspiring educators. We just have no contract. That is, we have a contract, but it's written in our hearts. The desire to make for a better future for all of our students, regardless of race, color, creed, doctrine, sexual orientation, that remains. Therefore, you will see us still walking the halls in our state houses, sending email after email and making a phone call, writing letters to the editor and attending school board meetings, and sometimes even running for those positions. Our commitment continues to bring social and racial justice to all, to provide safe, modern facilities, and to provide an environment of comfort and, yes, joy. If reality were the law, educators would be the legislators simply by enacting what we know to be true. You know, we were granted a degree in education, licensed and/or certified by our state, because we took the time to be trained and educated. And then we signed a contract of agreement to teach the truth. We knew then, and we know now what to do and how to do it. And so to the naysayers and those who perpetuate lies, rumors, roadblocks, we say, get out of the way and let us do our job. We'll take care of our students. We'll take care of our students because we are Team NEA, and we're building for the future for our students, for our educators, and our community. Welcome to the NEA Summit 2022, where we will learn and we will unite and we will do what is best for the future of our students, for our profession, and for our community. We are NEA strong. Welcome.
Please welcome Mercedes Krause.
Chante Washche Nape Chiasapi Imakiape Mercedes Krause Oglala Lakota Hamacha Ehoka Akolakichi Hamacha. I'm Mercedes Krause. I'm a dual citizen of the Oglala Lakota Nation, and I am Badger Society. I am also a proud 2 decades-long member of the NEA here from Southern Nevada in Las Vegas. My family has been here in Southern Nevada for 2 generations. And although we call it our home and it's where we were born and raised, we do not call ourselves Nevada natives. We are part of the urban native population of Southern Nevada that, according to the last US Census, has reached over 50,000 people. We do not call ourselves Nevada Natives because it is the 27 tribal nations with government-to-government relationships with the U.S. government who are the Nevada Natives. These sovereign nations make up the Northern Paiute, Southern Paiute, Shoshone, and Washoe people. As we begin today, we start by recognizing where we stand, on whose land we are living on, working on, and visiting today. And in doing so, we take a respectful moment to recognize the stewardship of the Southern Paiute people, the Las Vegas Paiute, the Moapa Band of Paiute. Their stewardship continues through today. So as you grow in your leadership throughout the weekend, please reflect on this, and also reflect on creating visibility and voice for the Indigenous people that you work with, teach, and live with back in your own home communities. Thank you, welcome, and have a wonderful conference.
Welcome to the stage, NEA Executive Committee members Robert Rodriguez and Hannah Vandering.
Welcome, everyone. Very nice. The NEA has adopted a standard of conduct policy to ensure that all of our gatherings are welcoming to all and free from discriminatory, harassing, or otherwise unacceptable behavior. Discrimination or harassment based on race, color, ethnicity, religion, sex, age, national origin, sexual orientation, disabilities, gender identity or expression, or any other characteristic protected by law will not be tolerated. If you experience any discriminatory, harassing, or otherwise unacceptable behavior, please see either myself, Robert Rodriguez, or my colleague Hannah Vandering to report the incident. Thank you for your commitment to ensuring a positive event for all.
Thank you, Robert. So the standards of conduct are here, and we all are called upon to respect others and their views, to recognize and value individual differences, to promote mutual respect, understanding, and cooperation with all of our participants, and to maintain the reputation of NEA by conducting ourselves in accordance with the high standards of professionalism. If you are touched and need to file an incident form, you can find that on your app. If you go to the home page, go to Standards of Conduct, there's a form. But we want to thank you in advance for creating a safe, welcoming space for each and every one of our participants. Have a great summit.
Thank you, folks.
Black Lives Matter at School. We are coming together across race and place to ensure every Black student and educator can live, grow, and thrive with support and love and joy.
We demand
a re-examination of zero-tolerance policies. Students need restorative justice, counselors, and more educators who look like them. They deserve a curriculum that reflects their history and tells the truth.
When students, families, and educators come together to ensure racial justice in public schools, it strengthens the entire community.
Black Lives Matter at School can spark an ongoing movement of reflection, conversation, and action. Take the pledge. Let's rewrite the rules together.
Out of the shadow of darkness, you emerged. Determination, despite despair. Focus, in the face of fear. Creative through the confines of a worldwide pandemic most could never imagine. Educators, your tenacity is admirable and inspiring. Thank you for reaching remotely, collaborating to get communities what they needed, for making a way when the path was uncertain. Thank you to the committed, to the courageous, and to the fallen who gave the ultimate sacrifice. We honor you and carry forth your commitment.
America has made an historic commitment to safer, healthier, and more equitable public schools. Now is the time to make good on that promise, the promise of justice, excellence, and joy, so that all students, no matter who they are or where they live, have a real opportunity to get ahead. Join educators and families who are opening doors to our students' future. NEA, for all students, for what's ahead.
Hello, NEA family. And I want to thank State President Brian Rippett for having us in Nevada. Shout out to Brian. It is truly my honor to introduce the students you're going to hear from next. That's right, give it up for students. I'm thrilled to say that we have students here from Maryland, and their advisors are with them, Deb Dalvan and Kenneth Schmidt over here. How would you like to get the assignment to take your students on a field trip to Las Vegas from Maryland? So with them are three mothers of the students. They're going to make sure everybody is where they need to be and what they have to do. But it's an exciting program that they're going to share with you. It's called the Minority Scholars Program. And it started in 2005 in Montgomery County. It was grassroots and organic, when teachers and administrators saw their students of color not taking higher level courses, not having the opportunity in many schools to take higher level courses, not networking with each other, and often feeling isolated. So they took it upon themselves to begin the Minority Scholars Program in Montgomery County, Maryland, just outside of DC, a union membership of over 12,000 in this county alone. Yep. And they started the Minority Scholars Program, reaching out to students, making them feel a part of something bigger, giving them voice. This is a student-led, student-driven program that gives students a voice in what is happening in our schools. In particular, a voice in racial social justice. You are going to hear from Jade, Shivani, Ashley, Huin, Brooke Smith, Ela Benson, and Maximilian Maples. And I'm thrilled that you can. And I want to thank Merwin Scott and the Cape Grants for helping us to grow this program, which is now 25 high schools, 24 middle schools, and 4 elementary schools in Montgomery County. So it's my pleasure to introduce members of the Minority Scholars Program. Give it up, NEA, for our students.
Good evening, everybody. Thank you so much for having us. We are so incredibly excited to be here. My name is Brooke Smith, and I'm a senior at Damascus High School in Montgomery County, Maryland, the 14th largest school district in the nation with 25 high schools and over 160,000 students, 72.3% of which are minorities. I'd first like to thank Ms. Cheryl Boast, the MSEA, and the MCEA for their continuous support of our Minority Scholars Program. I'd also like to thank the National Education Association on behalf of the MSP for giving us the opportunity to not only be here today, but for funding our summer internship and student program. I think I can speak for everyone up here when I say that MSP has truly given us a community unlike any other, and the NEA had a huge part in that. The NEA stands The NEA stands on equal opportunity and unity above all else. The Minority Scholars Program started because of that same vision. Our founders, Esther Adams, Michael Williams, and Edgar Mulker, noticed the divide between Black and brown students and white students, and from that realization, MSP was born in Montgomery County. The key to MSP, however, is student voice. Hundreds of students come together each year to discuss the problems that we see firsthand and the solutions that we believe could truly make a difference. There's a Minority Scholars Program at every high school in our county that has students talking about the disparities they see and the desire for opportunities that we have. Our program has even grown to a few middle schools and a handful of elementary schools. I didn't fully grasp what it meant to be a part of the Minority Scholars Program when I joined in 10th grade. I didn't realize that the prejudice that I was facing in the hallways and classrooms at my school was prejudice that others faced and wanted to battle. It wasn't until the summer internship where I had the privilege to work with 24 other strong, passionate, expressive leaders that I realized just how much change we can make, because the prejudice that I was feeling and the doubt that seemed to come from all angles was actually a piece of a systemic generational issue that so many students like me and my fellow interns have gone through. When you hear students speak up about being discouraged from taking higher level courses, it makes the demographics that leave me as one of the only minorities in my advanced placement US history class make a little more sense. When you hear about students speak about how their middle school wasn't really the type of middle school that produced 9th graders who take AP courses right away, it makes my minority on-level government class make a little bit more sense. And I use the term make sense timidly because I know at least 5 people in this room who would call that absolutely insane. This program taught me the crucial difference between the achievement gap and the opportunity gap. It taught me that the lower percentage of Black and brown student quote-unquote success, which is what we define as the achievement gap, can actually be traced back to the lower percentage of Black and brown students even being encouraged to take that AP US history and government class. MSP begs the question, how can students achieve if they aren't even given the opportunity to try? Being one of the only students of color in multiple classes back-to-back silenced me in 9th grade. The Minority Scholars Program gave me my voice back. I realized that peers had been discouraged from speaking out against the inequalities they'd face in the classroom. I realized that there were teachers who had graduated from our very county who had gone through similar issues. And above all else, I realized there was a large group of students and staff of all backgrounds who wanted to see people who looked like me and my fellow interns succeed.
Hi everyone, my name is Jade Shaybani. I'm a senior from Walt Whitman High School, and I'm here to share with you some background on the Minority Scholars Program. First off, this place is where students can be heard. It's a community where we learn and are empowered by each other. Our 5 keys are stated above: academic achievement, student voice, leadership development, enhancing culture capital, and community engagement. These keys serve as an outline to further students of color in their education. In 2005, when this program was born, teachers at Walter Johnson High School noticed that the average test scores among Black and brown students in Montgomery County were significantly lower than the white students. This school brought together 15 student leaders to discuss this opportunity gap. They found that some counselors and teachers were discouraging minorities from taking high-level classes and planted doubts in their mind that they would not succeed. In other words, they were operating from a deficit mindset. It was obvious that inherent biases and stereotypes plagued the school, which affected the performance of the students. In response to this prejudice, initiatives were put in place by MSP students to push their fellow minorities to take advanced classes. This resulted in a 99% success rate among the kids. Their classmates excelled at these courses. The issue was not that Black and brown students were performing worse than white students. It was the lack of support that was given to them. It became clear that students of color were being left behind in the education system. MSP started to be recognized at other schools, and soon all high schools in Montgomery County adopted the program. Students across our school district led at unprecedented rates. Students of color spoke out. Students protested to close the opportunity gap and presented at the Maryland Board of Education. The Minority Scholars Program fostered empowerment, and the change was being made at the hands of students. This program is a community of united individuals who are passionate about challenging discrimination. It shaped us into leaders who can combat the opportunity gap. This program taught me how to navigate through a world that places doubts on my success. I came to realize that I was being raised in a system that normalizes discrimination. From casual racist remarks that teachers ignore, to hate crimes against students of color at my school that administration never addresses. Minorities in the school system are too intimidated to speak out, but are begging to be heard. Student voice is where the truth lies. And we are just asking you to listen and make the extra effort to have these kinds of conversations. MSP creates real change in education. The barriers I face as a person of color do not define my future. Instead, it gives me the strength to be a leader that is passionate, resilient to intimidation, and receptive to change. The Minority Scholars Program The Minority Scholars Program is my support system, where we are heard, and more importantly, where our voices are projected.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Ashley Huynh, and I'm a junior at Watkins Mill High School in Montgomery County, Maryland. For the past few years, MSP has hosted their summer internship program, where those selected from the application pool spend 6 weeks undergoing some really intense, but also really fun trainings that have built our wealth of knowledge of the larger social institutions of racism and how it perpetuates the opportunity gap. The 5 of us here are so lucky to have learned about the levels of racism and to have examined issues of identity and privilege. We've learned that in order to educate others, we first have to check our own biases. To be well-rounded interns, we have to be reflective individuals who not only know the knowledge, but can apply that knowledge in a receivable manner. We've acquired a number of skills. We've learned de-escalation techniques, speaking to large audiences such as yourself, and learning how to facilitate difficult conversations about race and race relations that inevitably require certain levels of honesty, empathy, and readiness to listen from all sides between students, educators, and students and educators. The conversations that we've had are some of my most cherished experiences that have validated my experiences as a student of color. Now, one of my biggest takeaways from the internship is that racism has mutated. As society progresses, it too has reformed itself to continue its rampant destruction. Today, students don't necessarily deal with the same kinds of racism that you typically hear about in a history class, like slavery or segregation, but rather with the modern day replication of its parent form. The mutation of racism inserts itself on an interpersonal level as microaggressions and slurs, and on an institutional and systemic level as natural hair discriminatory policies, as the unjustified criminalization of the Black and Latinx community that ends up fueling a school-to-prison pipeline, and as the constant barbarization of people of color. On top of that, this particular mutation of racism attempts to delete parts of itself to prevent future generations from learning and healing from the original disease. Which brings me to say, now, if we're going along with my analogy of racism as a mutant, the question arises. What conditions are conducive for this exponential growth of racism? What feeds racism? Yes, of course, prejudice and bigotry. Sometimes it's the newly acquired prejudice from a peer or a hate that has spanned generations. And yes, sometimes it's the prejudice ingrained into the laws, the very system that maintains the social order where people of color are disadvantaged in some form. In many cases, not all, I find that ignorance is the source of prejudice and thus racism. And that brings me to say that I am so excited to facilitate a professional development with some of you tomorrow. I think I speak for all of us when I say that PDs are our favorite kind of work in MSP, and there's a reason for that. Educators are our leaders in our education system. So as we tackle this problem from such a high point in the institution, I know that there will be rippling effects that will be felt by your students in their classrooms across the country, particularly your students of color who struggle with the symptoms and spread of this mutation. But you, as educators, have the power to change that, and we, in training educators, are able to change our narrative. The power of our diversity, our palette of multicultural identities, and our wealth of knowledge bequeaths us a unique advantage in teaching you how to be an empathetic educator who can make a big difference in your students.
Hello, everyone. My name is Maximilian Mabels. I'm a senior at Montgomery High School. I just want to take 1 second to talk to you guys about MSP. MSP has allowed all of us to spread our knowledge and collective information to so many different high schools. We've talked with hundreds of teachers and students alike on how to deal with racism in the classroom, how to deal with minority students, and how to deal with injustices in the classroom and in the curriculum. All of us alone have not been able to do this without MSP. This is our greatest collection of our work and knowledge as a whole. We have poured our hearts and minds into helping and training teachers because it is something we are truly passionate about and it's something we all want to see change. As a student, waking up on a Saturday is something that none of us want to do. But week after week, we've done just that to help make a change in things we're passionate about. At my school, we've been able to partner with other groups such as the Black Student Union and the Student Government Association to hold discussions about the difference between race and ethnicity, what it's like to be a minority student, and sharing our own personal experiences. We also had counselors come in to discuss future college plans and guest speakers from the University of Maryland. One of the things I'm most proud of and grateful for is the safe space MSP has created for me, to be vulnerable with my emotions and my story. As a man and as a Black man, this is one of the most difficult things that we can do. And MSP has granted that for me, and I'm just so grateful for that as a whole. Bonding with others, such as people on the stage, who moments ago were just strangers, is a feeling unlike any other and cannot be topped. Speaking on behalf of myself and other interns, we've grown stronger over the past 10 months. We've grown stronger together, and the change we've gone through is visible. Learning about the levels of racism, microaggressions, dealing with difficult and uncomfortable topics, and so on and so forth. When all the adults we talk to say that we are the future, and we're the ones who can make a difference, I truly believe that. We are the future. We are the ones who are going to pave our way in our new society in the future that's safe for all minorities, people of color, everyone included. All of us are more than capable of making a difference on our own, but together we are stronger. We are the link to uniting together for a better future for our students, our educators, and our communities.
Good evening. My name is Ela Benson, and I'm a junior at Springbrook High School in Montgomery County, Maryland. As student leaders, we've organized, facilitated, and led several professional development sessions for teachers across our county. And when we do these sessions, we want the teachers to hear the things that students don't always say. A student may not tell you that they were just called a slur in the hallway, or that they fear for their own safety or that of their families every time they get in the car or walk down the street. They may not tell you about all of the microaggressions they experience daily, the comments, the looks, but we are telling you. We are asking you to open that line of communication and ask your students. Don't be afraid to be vulnerable. Don't shy away from talking about race, because it does make a difference. It makes a difference when you ask a student how to say their name and you take the time to learn it. It makes a difference when you take just a few minutes to highlight an important person of color who has done something related to the subject you teach. It makes a difference when you protect your students of color and speak up when you hear someone make an inappropriate comment. We are asking you to please have these conversations and confront these issues head on and help make your school community a safe space for students of color. Let your students have a voice. When it comes to making change and closing the opportunity gap, students are essential. Everyone talks about wanting to make things better for students, but what will really make things better is if you let us be part of the solution. Students are the missing piece. We know firsthand what we need, and we are capable of so much. Listen to your students because they are the future. We are the future. MSP helps us reach that future, a better future for people of color, for students of color. MSP has given all of us so much, and for that, we are grateful. MSP has given me a place to explore my multiracial identity and help my leadership skills flourish.
MSP has given me a safe space for me to feel comfortable in my school.
MSP has given me a community to validate my experiences as a person of color.
MSP has given me a place to speak out.
And MSP has given me my voice back.
The Minority Scholars Program has given so much to each of us individually, but it's together that we create change. This program wouldn't be what it is without all of the students who use their voices for good. When we come together, we are stronger. And when we come together, we are more powerful than any of us could have imagined. We hope you join our movement, join our family, and help make a difference. Thank you.
Oh my goodness. Oh my goodness. Weren't those students exceptional? Wow. We are off to just an incredible start. Hello, NEA leaders. I am Princess Moss, your NEA Vice President and Chair of the Summit Design Team. Oh gosh, I am so excited to be here with all of you. You know, being here together is such a huge accomplishment given all that we have experienced individually and collectively these last 2 years. But through it all, I have been absolutely amazed by our NEA President. Let me tell you, there is no one who is more passionate about students and the 3 million NEA members who educate them than our bold, brilliant, and fierce social justice warrior, NEA President Becky Pringle. She has led this organization with courage, joy, and excellence. That video is just a glimpse into Becky's leadership. She is purposeful and powerful. And now, NEA leaders, take out those clappers you found on your chairs tonight, and let's make some noise! Welcome to the stage, my union sister and friend, NEA President Becky Pringle.
Change is coming. Hold on. Don't you worry. Hold on. You can make it. Hold on. Everything will be all right. Some people like to worry. Some people like to hide. Some people like to run away from the pain
Yeah, let's just keep dancing. How about that? Oh. The view from up here is magnificent. Oh. Oh. When her father was murdered in 1968, Reverend Bernice King was in kindergarten. Today, the youngest child of Dr. King says that people often ask her if she's hopeful. And what she says is that when I hear that question, I always say, I consider justice. Hope and justice are connected in my consciousness. Hope is not naivete, but an understanding of where we are and a vision of what we can be. Hope is realistic. It's realistic. When we organize our strength into compelling power. Yeah. And when we together assert that power to correct every system, ideology, and condition that stands against love, we are doing justice. Yeah. Doing justice. A verb, right? Doing justice is what we will explore as we engage together this weekend in our very first face-to-face summit, our first national gathering in 2 years. 2 years. And this, I know, NEA. Whether you are an emerging leader who is courageously just starting along your leadership path, or if you are a veteran leader who, with experience and perseverance, decided to stay on your path, you are the hope that Reverend King describes, knitted together, your strength and fortitude, your commitment and drive, your resolve and your creativity, your unapologetic, unwavering spirit help to shape the hope that transforms the impossible into the possible. That's you, NEA. That's you. Held, encouraged, inspired, and compelled by hope. We are doing justice. Right now, you are creating the paths from the possibilities by uniting for a better future for our students, our educators, and our communities. Oh my goodness, I can remember it like it was yesterday. I was in a cab in New York City that night in March of 2020 when I got the call. I was going from cooing with my 4-year-old granddaughter, Mackenzie, rushing to my date with my grandson, Carter, at his favorite pool hall, where he proceeded to beat me. That was not right. He was 6. Even as we wrestled with making the gut-wrenching decision to cancel the summit less than 2 weeks before it was to convene, I could not possibly imagine what was to come, what we would have to face to endure, the difficult decisions we'd have to make, what we'd have to fight for to keep our students and our colleagues safe so we can ensure that our students continue to learn. But as I look back over these 2 years since that cab ride across the Brooklyn Bridge, I realize that I have been a witness to something quite extraordinary. You. Hope, resilience, strength, courage, ingenuity, caring, fight, finding ways every day to do justice. You stood face to face with your own fears, trying to safeguard your health so you could ensure the health of your students and your families, acknowledging your own individual, collective traumas. Even as you attended to others, you've done the impossible. You made it possible for our students to continue to learn during this unimaginable season of suffering. You made it possible for our school buildings to reopen safely. You did that. Each and every day, you continue to use hope to create the kinds of schools and work sites and campuses and communities that reflect our shared hopes and dreams, our highest possibilities. You have fought for safe and just working and learning conditions for our kids and for our colleagues. That was you. Your hope is helping us reimagine public education, a system that actually addresses the inequities that COVID-19 revealed to this nation. And you and I both know that all of the crises that spawned from this disease worsened the conditions of far too many of our Black and brown and indigenous students and their families, inequities that are firmly rooted in the structural racism that was baked within our country's soil. Since its beginning, this unrelenting pandemic has changed all of us. As we emerge from this extraordinary period of loss and learning, I believe you will join me in agreeing with journalist Krista Tippett's characterization of these past 2 years. It has held layers of loss and grief and rupture and tectonic shifts of opening and learning and possibility. We walk into a world that we must, in many ways, remake. And we're called to walk alongside others, listening and asking and leading. Krista's words make me think of all that educators have endured with immense courage and unrelenting commitment. But through it all, we have held on to one shared truth. Every student, our Black, white, brown, indigenous, API students, our LGBTQ plus students, our differently abled students, all of them, all of our babies, every single one deserves the access and opportunities, the safety and support that will allow them to grow and to live and to thrive, every one of them. Everyone. A couple of years ago, when my husband passed, I was given this beautiful piece of pottery. I wish you could see it, but this, I think we have a picture of one. It's gorgeous. During the height of the pandemic, I thought about its significant and encouraging meaning in this moment. The story it was meant to tell. It's made using a Japanese art form called kintsugi. Kintsugi is the art of replacing broken pottery with a glue that is mixed with powdered silver or gold. The broken areas become part of the pottery's history, the story that brought it to its beauty and its strength. It's a story of change. It's a story of emergence. While it's true that in many ways we will never be the same again, hope tells us that as we emerge from, we move to. We can become what we are destined to be. That precious metal, that's who you are. That precious metal. Joining those broken pieces back together, creating something new, making it stronger, making it more beautiful, bringing joy and hope. Hope will compel us to do what we must, to change the reality that 1 out of every 2 educators, listen to me, 1 out of every 2 educators says that this pandemic caused them to make plans to leave a profession they love. That our colleagues all across this nation are being forced to do more and more and more with less and less. Less time, less respect, less help, just less. But hope will compel us to demand that this country address the reality that the leading cause of death among our 10 to 24-year-olds is suicide. That can't happen. That the income gap in this country just continues to widen, that compounding inequities throughout our social systems are forcing far too many Americans, including our own members, to make the difficult choice every day about whether they're going to put gas in their cars or food on their families' tables. We have to demand better than that. Grounded in hope, you must use your leadership to demand the professional pay that reflects the fundamental role educators play in this country. We must demand that. You must use your leadership to ensure our students get the mental health supports they are crying for. We must do that. You must use your leadership to bring an end to the staff shortages that are crippling our schools and overwhelming our educators and threatening the quality of education we want for our children. There is no doubt that each of us, in our own way, will forever bear the marks, and for some of us, the scars of this pandemic. But much like the ancient Japanese art of kintsugi, educators are emerging from this time changed, but resilient, challenged, but stronger. You are not broken.
You are becoming. I see you. I hear you. The learning that has emerged and the determination that continues to blossom is everywhere. The beauty within your individual and collective journeys is opening us all up to new possibilities, to hope. I have no doubt we will use our new experiences and expertise, knowledge and wisdom, compassion and love to demand what our students and educators need and deserve to step boldly into their brilliance. Even as we enter year 3, oh my goodness, of COVID, my North Star remains the vision that I laid out when I became president in the middle of a pandemic. Can I get a witness? Do I have any other presidents out there? I know it. Yeah. Ooh, that vision is for NEA, the largest labor union in this country, to unite not just our members, but this entire nation to reclaim public education as a common good, as the foundation of this democracy, and then transform it into something it was never designed to be, a racially and socially just and equitable system that prepares not one, not some, but every single student to succeed in this diverse and interdependent world. Everyone. Where are my clappers? And educators cannot, and we are not, doing this work alone. It's why we are partnering with parents and communities, with faith leaders and influencers, elected and appointed officials, and our precious students. What about those students? What about those students? Oh my God, is Marilyn in the house? What about those students? You know, they were coming, they saw me when I stopped them. I told them, you're in the Becky vortex now. You are not getting away from me. I'm putting you to work. I need you all over this country, scoping and scaling that program, right? You saw in that presentation, Jade and Max and Brooks and Ashley and Ia made our vision their own, right? Yeah, there they are, they're right there. I know. They are using their experience and creativity, their agency and their power. And you know what's happening over there? They are doing justice. That's what they're doing. These young, powerful young people have claimed our racial and social justice work as their own. They are a shining example of why NEA resources will continue to bolster our state and local associations in their efforts to support the leadership of our students. They are not our leaders for tomorrow. They are our leaders right now. Right now. This partnership that we formed with the Minority Scholars Program will transform these students, right? Is that right? Yeah. But especially, it will transform the educators they have trained forever. You see, they are why we continue to hope. I could have just put a period there, right? They are why. Period. Just period. And that hope will help us use the lessons we have learned to improve our professional practice, to sharpen our organizing and advocacy skills, our ability to lead, and it will help us build our racial and social justice muscle. We must do that so we can continue our journey toward education justice. You would not be here if you didn't believe that, as I believe it, that honing your leadership skills is intrinsic to that work. Our training sessions and the people you will connect to and share share your strategies with and help you identify and nurture the best within you will be people that you will form relationships probably for the rest of your lives. Yes, our stress has been off the charts, right? A little incomprehensible. Our exhaustion, unrelenting. Yes, our profession has absorbed misplaced blame and weathered vicious attacks from those who put fear-mongering politics and deliberate disinformation ahead of the needs of our students. In a pandemic, leave us alone. We're in a don't. You know what? I just arrived from Philly, so I'm gonna put the Philly back in a minute. See, they're gonna take me off the stage in a minute. And yet, you continue to accomplish miraculous things. You continue to inspire and motivate, innovate, and collaborate. You continue to move forward in your leadership journey. And by doing that, you inspire more people than you will ever know. You inspire me every day. It is my hope that this summit will encourage you to do something that is just as important as what you do every day when you put everything in to taking care of others. You must take care of yourselves. You must do it. In whatever way feels true to you. For me, self-care looks like listening to music and dancing, as you could see. It looks like journaling and going for a walk outside, sitting on my husband's memorial bench. That's what self-care looks like for me. Here's the thing. You must do what brings joy to you. It could be loving on your grandkids like me. But whatever it is, attending to your own well-being is a powerful social and emotional tool. And before you clap, let me say this. Is Colorado out there? Okay, all right. You tell your counselor there in Denver that I said this. So this is what a counselor in Colorado reminded me of, and she was absolutely right. Emotional well-being isn't just about self-care. It's about others' care of us too. Did you hear me? Others need to be caring about us. It's about knowing and seeing, fighting for and winning supports and dignity and respect that reflect that care from others so we can do the jobs we love. But I know you. I am you. So I gotta say, you must put yourself first and take care of your own health and emotional well-being. No one can do that for you. No one can do that for you. You must do it for yourselves. We must take care of ourselves. That's the only way we're going to lay the groundwork for joining with others to accomplish our shared mission. As you work throughout this weekend, you will see elements of our social and emotional intelligence competency. It supports the other 6 competencies, which form the core of the NEA Leadership Competency Framework: advocacy, communication, governance, and leadership, leading our professions, organizing, strategizing, and fiscal health. To practice each of these competencies with the acumen and authenticity that is required, to practice them with the care and concern, compassion, and love that leadership requires, we must first cultivate the ability to care for and understand and lead ourselves so that we can then lead in community. Together, we will reimagine the future of public education armed with what we have endured these last 2 years. We will bring forth that vision of the world we want to live in. A vision of the world we want for our children. And I have to, I've heard this said to me a lot, so I have to say this to you. You can't be intimidated or deterred by the boldness of our vision, that it seems too big or too impossible to achieve. Can't do that. Historian Howard Zinn captures for me what we must do to be those visionary and courageous leaders. We don't have to wait for some grand utopian future. The future is in infinite successions of presence. Yeah. live now as we think human beings should live, in defiance of all that is bad around us. Live as we think human beings should live, regardless of what's happening around us. That will be a marvelous victory. We have to live as though we know that future. We desire for our students and our country, for ourselves, can exist. And we must create it. It must be us, with our hands and our hearts and our minds focused on the future, guided by a deep understanding of who we are and why we exist, and a vision of what we can be. We, NEA, will continue doing justice. Civil rights activist and feminist Audre Lorde dared us to be powerful. When I dare to be powerful, to use my strength in the service of my vision, then it becomes less and less important whether I am afraid. NEA, we never have and we never will be afraid to use our voice to speak up for what's right. We never have and we never will be afraid to stand in our power and fight for our professional rights and respect. NEA, we never have and we never will be afraid to demand what our students need to center their humanity. To create opportunities for them to soar. So we will meet this moment as we've met every moment, together, rooted in resilience, shored up by our strength, destined by our determination. We will dare to be brave and brilliant and bold. NEA, we will dare to be powerful. Every day, every day, every day, knowing that our colleagues are looking to us, our country needs us, and our children, our babies are depending on us. They're depending on us to be worthy of them. NEA, stand! Stand! Stand in your power! I love you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.